appointment confirmation. So I just wanted to talk a little bit about it. My approach to board appointments has been focused on sharing the regional workload and providing broader opportunities for representation rather than before where it was just the mayor and the same individuals on every major board assignment. This appointment was never a reflection on Paul or his dedication to the role. I believe he has always served with sincerity and commitment. Rather, this decision was based on the principle that, like the mayors before me and those serving throughout the region today, the mayor has the responsibility and authority to select the representation they believe best serves their city. As reflected in this correspondence throughout this process, the CEO of Skagit Transit has presented differing explanations regarding this appointment, many of which have not aligned with the guidance provided by our legal counsel or administrative staff. It is disappointing that what should have been a straightforward process required such extensive back and forth. The city had to maneuver through multiple threats, and it's now likely that this board position might not even exist in the near future. I felt it was important that the city stand on principle and exercise its right to determine its own appointment. For the reason we placed this item on the agenda, for this reason, we have placed this item on the agenda for this evening. Regional partnerships work best when agencies respect the authority of each city and its elected leadership. My responsibility, first and foremost, is to represent the citizens of Sedro-Woolley and ensure our community's voice is properly represented. While I remain committed to working collaboratively with regional partners, Sedro-Woolley will always come first in the decisions I make as mayor. And with that, I'll pass it to Charlie.
Okay, Council, so we've got an item here for you tonight. The topic is Skagit Transit Board appointment confirmation. Mayor Kesty's been working her way through our regional boards and committees and making appointments as the mayors before her have done. And this has been a bit of a journey with Skagit Transit trying to do something similar. Mayor Kesty's desire and her request to the council for confirmation is to remove Councilmember Koch from a city council position on the Skagit Transit Board and to appoint Councilmember DeYoung to serve in that position. There's been a lot of back and forth, as Mayor Kesty mentioned. We included a lot of that correspondence in the packet, as well as Skagit Transit's bylaws. There at least have been some provisions in Skagit Transit's bylaws that have been pushed to the city, indicating that we cannot make a change at this time. And the legal advice that we received is counter to that. And, in principle, we are moving forward with this evening. That is the recommendation. So I'd like to turn it over to Dan Curtis a little bit to discuss more, of some of the legal back and forth. We also had comments from the CEO of Skagit Transit that came in that are included in the packet under other. So it's basically late material that came into the city to be submitted as part of public comment. So that's there for your review as well. And I'd like to turn it over to Dan to provide a little bit more of the legal context.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I guess to put it the best that I can, what we have here is the result of a little bit of a disagreement and maybe a misunderstanding in terms of just the fundamental structure of local governance in Washington State and the interaction between municipalities and interlocal boards. Every component city on the PTBA up until now has appointed its representatives unilaterally by the mayor. Our mayor was appointed, which makes it a little bit different, such that it's irregular and so not at a regularly timed interval. And that seems to have triggered some alarm or upset on the PTBA. board and with the CEO, and so they took some exception to the mayor's appointment authority, and in my opinion, that's misguided. We have general state statutes in the state of Washington that use the term governing body. And the reason for that is because we have two types of local government in the state of Washington. We have mayor-council forms of government, and we have council-manager forms of government. And so the state statutes that are not specifically referring to one or the other will use that term governing body. But for a mayor-council form of government, the mayor is included there. And you'll see in my memo on page 99 of your packet, I sort of run through, why a municipality in Washington with that mayor-council form of government has the authority in the executive position to make these appointments. And I'll be brief and get to a conclusion here in a second. What I'm getting at is, doctrinally speaking, under just basic separation of powers, your mayor is your chief executive who has appointment powers. And those powers are assumed unless limited legislatively by the council. And that's sort of established not just by like the penumbra of state statutes, but also it's supported contextually within our code. And you'll see some argument, counter argument in here about, if the mayor had that unilateral authority, then they could appoint and then remove someone really quickly over and over. One point is that hasn't happened in the history of these appointments. Another point is that's actually counter to the consensus understanding of the limitations on power, because the mayor is pulling from a limited pool, which is the council. And so if the mayor were to make multiple appointments and removals from the council, then the council would likely use its power as the legislative body as a limit on the executive, and then limit that executive power, as it's been known to do, by ordinance, which would then be codified in the municipal code. And then that ordinance would be subject to a mayoral veto. And such is the structure of local government, and it's carefully crafted that way for a reason. And I'm happy to take questions.
Councilmember Lavaca.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I've read through this, and I think that the SCAT board of their rules and regulations should be able to have their rules set so that the people aren't removed within a year on their own behalf. I don't think that should be something that limits our ability within our body or our city, and the mayor's ability to step forth and appoint or move people around. I've never challenged another mayor's positions on an appointment. There might have not been some that I have agreed with, but I've never challenged any appointments to any of the boards with North Star or SCAT or any of them. I've always respected the mayor's position in the city, and I've honored that. So I would like to continue to honor that. I think that your explanation in your document and your interpretation of governing bodies and the ruling of the government with the legislative branch limiting the power of the executive branch, but the executive branch working within its authority given by the legislative branch is a correct interpretation. I really appreciate you pointing that out. And it is my honor to support our city and the mayor that is in place. And I think if we don't do that as a body, we're setting a precedence for other communities to where we have another body come in and take over their ability to govern their own community. And so I don't think it's a matter of who's making that decision. I think it's a matter of that decision being made. And I'm displeased to see this even come before the council. I'm displeased to see this discussion taking place and us paying our lawyer to go through on a back and forth to go through this whole process. And that's my personal opinion on this. I think Paul Koch is an amazing guy. We've had great coffee and discussions, and I think you would do good on the board, but I just think that this is a position that we have allowed the mayor, whoever is in that seat, to have, and I want to continue to respect that. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Henderson?
This is not a, for me, it has nothing to do with who I think should be on the board or who I don't think should be on the board, because that's not my decision. What troubles me is that there is a CEO of an organization that we pay taxes into that is trying to make decisions and shoot from the hip and say what she wants and doesn't want, and then comes back and very, quite frankly, threatens our city. Looking through the new bylaws, because I guess we just change bylaws all the time now, added in section 511 and 512 for the new bylaws that they want to, Skagit Transit wants to impose on the board. And one of them is that the board has the authority to remove by majority vote any board member or their designee for violations of any of these bylaws. In such case, the board may allow a component city or town to appoint another member in accordance with the bylaws, or the board may opt, and that's the important part, to instead leave the position vacant until the subsequent term commences. So now we have a rogue CEO of an organization threatening that she can use her influence, because she's mentioned that several times in these correspondence, to remove our representation on this board completely, but we still have to pay taxes into it? I mean, this is absolutely insane. And the more you look into it, the more it should make everybody absolutely angry with bureaucracy in this county. And I know that me and you had a discussion, Councilwoman Peterson, a while ago, about not letting outside agencies be able to come in and push Sedro-Woolley around. And this right here is exactly what is happening, and it's disgusting. So, Dan, I had a question for you about all these changes to clearly punish the city of Sedro-Woolley in these in the section 511 and 512 of the new proposed bylaws. Can they even do that to us?
Yeah, this is where I want to be careful not to telegraph any potential arguments in case they do decide to act on some of these things. But the short answer is no. The component cities, like you mentioned, we're all being charged that 0.4% tax. And so we are entitled to representation. Exactly what that looks like, the board does have some discretion, but it is subject to that PTBA statute. And there are specific rules for the composition of the board. And I think that's, given the state of disagreement, I think that's as specific as I want to get into it in a public forum.
Can I say something?
Thanks, Dan.
Councilmember Koch.
Yeah, so this might be a little too long, but I'm gonna read it. Respectfully, I do not understand why Mayor Kesty and the City Council are looking to replace me on the Skagit Transit Board after 4 months of service there. This week, the mayor and council received a public comment letter from Skagit Transit CEO Crystal Stedham asking for me to remain on the Skagit Transit Board for the completion of my one-year term. I have some of my reasoning for staying on the board is similar. I have served on the Skagit Transit Board for over 4 months. I completed orientation for the board, studied the large transit system binders, went through a 2-hour training on the transit system's complex compensation study, and attended all scheduled board meetings. I'm not aware of my conduct as a board member being anything but appropriate, effective, and representative for the citizens of Sedro-Woolley and the riders of Skagit Transit. Also, at the last meeting of the Skagit Transit Board, the board agreed to implement a policy to put advertising on SCAT buses to generate more revenue for the agency. I have considerable related experience from my prior position as longtime communications director at Western Washington University. SCAT board asked me to help with SCAT's implementation of its advertising policy. A well-orchestrated advertising policy will benefit Skagit Transit financially, which is a good thing for Skagit County taxpayers. The time I put in has allowed me to develop knowledge, expertise, and understanding of the workings of Skagit Transit. This knowledge, by helping me make informed decisions on the board, directly benefits the riders of Skagit Transit and the citizens of Sedro-Woolley. The Skagit Transit Board bylaws set the term of office for members of the board at 1 year to develop continuity in positions. Having board members replaced before the 1-year term requires the training of a new board member all over again after only 4 months, a waste of taxpayer-funded training and resources. In conclusion, I would like to remain on the Skagit Transit Board. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. Charlie, did you have anything else you'd like to add to that?
No, I think, just the main policy question here is whether the council wants to confirm Mayor Kesty's selection.
I'm so sorry. Councilmember Peterson.
I'm not an attorney, so I came at this from a different perspective. Mayor Kesty and I met when she first started her term, and we talked a little bit about how she wanted to do board and committee and all of those appointments in a more equitable way, and I really liked that idea. It sounded like the idea was to kind of bring the vacancies to the council so that we could all kind of review them as a group, and council members would have the opportunity to volunteer to serve for those open positions. In my mind, this isn't a vacancy. There's no vacancy here, so I don't see a reason to really change the appointment in the middle of a board member's term. But I would like to see that kind of open discussion that we had discussed, Mayor Kesty, for those open city boards and commissions and things like that.
So for that, what I was referring to is that I wanted to get everybody's input, and like I had established earlier, the prior mayor had chosen over and over specific council members to serve on a lot of boards, and I wanted to open it up to more being able to have opportunities. Some have been waiting years, and so that's what it was, is to get a feel for everybody, what they wanted to do, and then it's at the mayor's prerogative to choose which one to do, just like had been done before. But I'm trying to open it up for everybody. Councilmember Lavaca?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So on the principle with the SCAT situation right now, that's where I have strong disagreement, because the fact that the mayor should have the authority given to them, whether it's male or female, to executively execute the wishes of the council and the people how she sees fit or they see fit. So that's where I have issue with this particular situation. I think Councilman Koch is a wonderful guy, like I said. I think he would do great on any board, and you have served on multiple boards. But at the same time, I had strong grievance that I did not choose to err on the way that boards were assigned. And I was not asked to go to boards. I know that Councilwoman Diamond, Councilman Owens, Councilman, Glenn Allen, I can go on and on. We're not given the same opportunities that very, very few people on the council received. And so opening it up for discussion and spreading it out a little bit more equitable allows for that. So if the new mayor feels like that is something that they would like to do or not like to do, I would encourage that. And it may start with some immediate changes, and maybe that's not the correct path, maybe it is, but it's their ability to make that decision. I think if we stifle that ability to make that decision, we set precedents for an outside body to come in and dictate how a city is ran, regardless of which city it is or which mayor is in their position. So this could go as far as, LaConner or some other place. Maybe a mayor gets placed in Mount Vernon that a body doesn't like or doesn't want, and then goes back and forth with who they have, and it becomes more of a tension than it becomes more about respecting that city's governance and jurisdiction. So that's where I have challenges with this. I would appreciate, Councilman Cox still serving on multiple boards as he has in the past already, haven't you? Yeah, and so a couple of them, and I would think that would open up as those board positions come available, and we have that open discussion, and it's equitable for the entire council. Everybody be asked, do you want to be on the board? And the ones that do put their name in the hat, and then the mayor chooses this one for that one, and allows that to spread through all of the council that's voted in by every person in this community. So every person has 3 representatives, just to make this quite clear. They have 2 legislative officials that represent them, and they have 1 executive. And so if only very few people are being allowed to serve in those boards, they're not getting their full representation. And then if those are removed due to some bylaws, and I'm curious to see when those changed, then we do have taxation without representation, and that itself I think would be worthy to take to court and figure out where we do stand with that, just in principle and in behalf of the rest of the people of Skagit County, or the state for that fact, because what precedence does it set? Thank you.
Councilmember Henderson?
Thank you.
If I may just...
Sure. Dan? Go ahead, Dan.
Yeah, just for clarity, I just wanted to make clear that this proposal isn't intended to make an appointment in contradiction with the bylaws. And even under the newest bylaws, under term of office until completion of their term, unless such person is legally ineligible to hold such position. And then if you scroll back up to Article 2, Section 2.1, Board Composition, it says subject to the provisions to RCW 3657A.050. That RCW says at the pleasure of the governing body, and that is a state law. And so once you've been removed at the pleasure of the governing body, then you're no longer legally eligible. And so it's my understanding that this appointment is not in contradiction to the bylaws, and wouldn't necessarily trigger the threats under the new language, and it's certainly not intended to do that. And I just wanted to make that clear.
Thank you, Dan. Councilmember Henderson?
Thank you. It's my understanding that this doesn't even need a council vote. This is just a confirmation, or a formality, so to speak. Now with what Dan just said about that provision, then it becomes a little bit more real. But to me, this is more of us as a city and of a council basically just standing up to a bully. And I think in Councilman Cock, I have enjoyed serving with you, and I do think that you are a great asset to this council, and this has no reflection on your abilities or the time that you've served or anything else. For me, this is purely to to set precedents to this organization that we're not going to be pushed around. We're not going to have these emails sent to us, and we're not going to have these bylaw changes that are extremely horrible and completely out in left field imposed on us. We want to be represented. Our constituents want to be represented. And so with that, I would move to motion the confirmation of the mayor's appointment, Carl DeYoung, to serve as the city council representative on the Skagit Transit Board of Directors at the pleasure of the mayor pursuant to section 2.1 of the Skagit PTBA bylaws as amended March 2026.
Okay, we have a motion by Council Member Henderson. Do I have a second?
I'll second that motion, Madam Mayor.
Seconded by Council Member Lavaca. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign.
Opposed.
Okay, motion passes 3-2. Thank you.
Council, my name is Crystal Stedham and I'm the CEO of Skagit Transit. I'm offering public comment this evening following the council's action regarding the Skagit Transit Board appointment. I want to begin by acknowledging the city's authority and the seriousness of decisions related to board representation. At the same time, it is important for me in my role as CEO to place several concerns on the public record, particularly as they relate to governance, legal compliance, and the interests of the riders that Skagit Transit serves, many of them who are your constituents. I would also note my disappointment that public comment is scheduled at the end of the agenda after action has already been taken. This structure does not allow public comment to be considered prior to decision-making, which is unfortunate given the significance of the issue and its implication for transparency and public trust. Councilmember Koch was appointed to the Skagit Transit Board for a one-year term that began January 1st, 2026. During his tenure, he completed board orientation, attended every board meeting and workshop, and served on the advertising committee and has become fully engaged in board work. From an operational standpoint, continuity matters. Removing an engaged board member partway through such a short term creates disruption that affects board effectiveness and agency stability. More importantly, this action raises significant governance concerns. Section 2.3 of the Skagit Transit bylaw states that board members serve until the completion of their term unless they are legally ineligible. Councilmember Koch remains legally eligible to serve. Removing or attempting to remove him prior to the completion of his term is a direct violation of the Skagit Transit bylaws. I reviewed the City Council's study packet today with our attorney, and we do not agree with the interpretation that Section 2.3 conflicts with Section 2.1 of the Skagit Transit bylaws or RCW 3657A55. Although the statute states that representatives serve at the pleasure of their governing body, it does not eliminate the board's responsibility and authority to adopt reasonable measures to ensure continuity and stability of board membership, nor does it authorize at-will removal of a currently serving eligible board member who is duly appointed to a term. In addition, RCW 5-57A.055 provides that appointments to the Skagit Transit Board are made by the appointing governing body. State law places appointment authority with the governing body, not with a single elected official acting unilaterally. While this past practice may have differed, Skagit Transit and its member jurisdictions have no obligation to comply with state law going forward. Finally, I want to emphasize that the City of Sedro-Woolley is an essential partner in public transit. Decisions made by the mayor and this council regarding Skagit Transit have real consequences for riders, agency operations, and public transit governance. Board members of Skagit Transit have shared obligation to act in the best interests of the agency, its riders, and the public it serves. I want to be clear that Skagit Transit values its ongoing partnership with the City of Sedro-Woolley, the mayor, and this council. I heard all of your comments tonight, and I'm willing to meet with any of you to discuss this further. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Is there any others with their hands up for public comment that I can't see online?
Sorry, let me switch over to the right tab. But no, I do not believe there's anyone with their hands up.
Okay, perfect. That concludes public comments. And with that, I would be